So the first panel of issue 3 has Sally looking worried for some reason while she asks how fast Sonic is running up to their base. Worried. This implies that she's scared of him causing harm to their base because he's been hypnotized or something, because she's talking as if he's an enemy, and the fact that the word bomb is in the title of the comic doesn't help, as it makes me imagine that it's a story about Sonic bringing a bomb to the knothole for some reason. This creates a lot of intrigue about what's going to happen next, but the next panel immediately shifts tone back to the patronizingly lighthearted tone of the early comic, with fourth wall breaking from Sally in a cheerful way. You know, I find it even more annoying when Sally does these jokes, because you expect a realist, level-headed character like her to be more grounded in her universe, to be more grounded in reality, not being used as a mouthpiece for the writers to make forced stupid jokes that I'm not sure if the character herself would actually make. I do like how, again, we get to see a logical result Sonic Speed, where he returns home faster than Rotor's TV camera can transmit pictures of him. Sonic apologizes for scaring Rotor, and Sally, because of her ongoing character trait about not wanting to be weak, gets offended at being accused of being scared easily, only to immediately get scared and screaming at what Sonic tells her next in a harmless joke. Religious freedom? That's a weird thing to mention in a Sonic comic. I mean, I guess it does help flesh out the universe a little, because there's religions in the Sonic universe. Why the hell do the Freedom Fighters think picketing in front of Eggman was a good idea? Those idiots! Oh, actually, it looks like they were projecting a movie of themselves on the wall, which caused the robots to run into the wall like in a previous issue. I guess they didn't give the writing enough credit. Apparently, Robotnik has a bomb, so Sonic and his friends get themselves in Eggman's base with Rotor disguised as Eggman, and Rotor orders the crab meat to bring the bomb to his office right away. Rotor, not in the Eggman costume or wearing anything anymore really, gets the bomb at last, and decides to get to Knothole to analyze it. Huh? Wait, so apparently now there's a whole bunch of walruses and Eggmans at once unmasking each other. No, it's more like that was just a weird comic panel thing. It is more like you have Robotnik and Eggman dressed up as each other, no doubt sweating from wearing multiple layers of costumes at once. And it's no wonder Rotor's dizzy at the end. It's probably from heat exhaustion. How the hell did Eggman know Rotor was going to disguise himself as him and prepare all of those costumes? What was the point in universe of having so many different costumes instead of Robotnik just having one Rotor costume and Rotor having just one Eggman costume? The conclusion of the, episode is that Eggman's so-called bomb was just to destroy a bunch of bugs. And I assume he only called it such a dramatic name because he's just a dramatic person like that. Like, he wants to spite the bugs, so he calls it the bomb to be dramatic and stuff. So I don't really think that this is, like, out of nowhere or a waste of time or anything. It makes perfect sense that they would make that mistake. And now for rabbit deployment, which I already talked about, and considering the big problem I have with this issue, I'm really glad to be tearing it apart again. I know from experience now that Sonic doesn't always obey Sally's orders, like in the issue with the Freedom Emeralds, where he went home without Antoine. But I still don't get Sally saying that he's never obedient. He looks slimy sucking up to Sally here. He doesn't look like a hero. And if Antoine is supposed to be like his rival for her affections, at least a one-sided rival anyways, why isn't it Antoine who's sucking up to Sally all the time? That would make him look more like he deserves the bullying he gets. I don't see the point of that mermaid camera joke. And I've said it before, but it bears repeating. This is why I didn't really like this comic. The only reason Bunny became a cyborg in the first place is that Sonic and Rotor were wasting too much of their time sitting there and talking about what's blatantly happening right in front of them. If all Sonic had to do was spin dash through the robots, he should have just done it right away. In fact, isn't it out of character for Sonic to sit there and wait instead of just instantly jumping into action? Lost World got his character more right than this. Why didn't he save her right away? Bunny, my sentiments exactly. And how is her arm turned into a robot already when it wasn't under the roboticizer at all? And why does he think she's hurt when she shows no sign of injury? I really do love the contrast shown between Rotor's practical shoot the dog morality and Sonic just wanting to save Bunny, even if there's a possibility that she did have a tracking device installed, which she doesn't. So, I really do like that. And it's ultimately great that she's a cyborg because she had her entire usefulness to the Freedom Fighters owed to it. But still, this is all Sonic's fault, and this is never mentioned again. And again, here's the second biggest problem. I really hate how overly chipper Bunny is after being turned into a cyborg, because it stands in direct contrast with her angst over it in later issues. And in a world where being roboticized is seen as the worst possible thing, and where even people with robot parts, like Robians, who aren't controlled by Eggman anymore, are discriminated against, and as a result, you're not treated well in society if you have robot parts, because you're associated with Eggman. It's totally unrealistic and patronizing to the audience that she's taking this so well, especially right after it happened. I know she's a positive person, but still. It makes sense that she respects Sally, since Sally's a princess. But the hairdresser job comes completely out of nowhere, since her pride over her super strength makes her look more like a tomboy. And her immediately taking a shine to Antoine is some pretty good foreshadowing into their close relationship later on, even if it was probably unintentional at the time. So a giant Burrowbot attacks, and Bunny immediately wants to make herself useful as a freedom fighter by helping out. At first, Sonic creates a tornado right beside it instead of surrounding it. As a result, this is even more infuriating to me now because I've seen in previous issues Sonic does know how to run a circle around his enemies. So he was just made to look like an idiot so that Bunny could have a chance to be awesome. She flips it upside down being a badass. And only then does Sonic creatively use his powers to run a circle around it to create a hole that buries it. Which I love by the way. Like, I like imagining this happening in a moving cartoon and imagining the robot toppling over and falling into the dirt. But again, was this really the right way to introduce her character? Why do you have to make Sonic a complete idiot just to make Bunny look good? I don't appreciate the text being upside down when the robot is. It just makes it annoying to try to read, forcing you to turn the comic upside down to read it, which is really intrusive and immersion breaking. All in all, I enjoyed this issue. There was nothing really seriously wrong with it. Well, aside from a lot of things. I just found it weird that Rotor and Eggman wasted time putting on so many different costumes at once just to amuse the audience. The really bad writing doesn't really kick in until the Bunny introduction, where she doesn't act at all like someone who's been turned into a cyborg would realistically react in this world, especially considering she has angst about it later on. And Sonic is given the idiot ball when we could have easily had both Sonic and Bunny being awesome. And at the end, Sonic pulls off Antoine's wing just to be a jerk. I'd like to point out that the reason he has that wig is because Sonic burned off his hair earlier as a prank. I think the problem I have with Sonic bullying Antoine is that the ratio of Antoine doing or saying something rude to Sonic and Sonic being rude to Antoine is much more leaning in Sonic's direction, making Sonic come off as a bad guy. Arrogant or not, rival for Sally's affections or not, Antoine just doesn't do enough to deserve this kind of treatment. It's not even like he's an actual rival for Sally's affection. Sally's shown to be into Sonic from the very beginning, so him being a hopeless suitor renders his rivaling Sonic for Sally completely harmless and not deserving of any sort of bullying at all. So really, if we're going to have a dynamic where Sonic hates Antoine, fine. That creates an interesting character conflict. But Antoine needs to do a lot more to Sonic as an enemy to actually deserve Sonic being a jerk to him all the time. Sure, he's a pompous jerk, but he doesn't even get enough screen time, for lack of a better word, to justify him. Like he's pompous, but we barely actually see that. Does he really do enough to deserve not only Sonic being a jerk to him all the time, pranking him all the time, but also all of Sonic's friends just standing by and laughing while it happens? It's not even like we see Antoine bragging about himself constantly. If anything, Sonic brags about himself way more than he does. I only remember Antoine so far bragging about himself in thought bubbles, like when he was about to give Sally a flower. This is another story that was written by Michael Gallagher. I'm sensing a pattern here. He must have been the primary writer early on. But yeah, that was the end of the issue. I'm not really sure if I liked it or not. But I kind of liked the bug bomb misunderstanding. It was a pretty believable mistake that they would have made. But I think Bunny's introduction could have been done a lot more naturally.